What's up, everybody? Welcome to the CanesInSight Daily podcast powered by Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Happy Friday. No games this weekend, so we can just enjoy being one of the top teams in the country, rivals in the dust, crying, trying to fire their coaches as we enjoy a nice college football Friday with a nice game today and Saturday and just enjoying the show. Maybe posting up at Duffy's, the Lickin', wherever you watch your games. First, I want to talk about some folks that don't have bye weeks. They're always working as Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. If you or someone you care about has been injured in an accident, you could be entitled significant compensation. Dial 1-800-747-FREE, 1-800-747-3733. Take back control of your life with Anajar and Levine. Pete, hop in.
Good morning, D. Gloomy morning here in the Gables. I see you got fall ball today, day 2. Will you be out there?
Yeah, if it's not raining, I'll be out there 100%. Appreciate you, Lord Baconton. Thank you for all your support. Yeah, I mean, is it raining over there? Well, this has been the high point of my day. Was heading out there.
It's not looking great right now. Little overcast, little ugly. Not much sunlight shining through over this way, but hopefully things change. You know how it is down here.
Yeah, first day of fall ball. This Canes baseball was sick. Just being out there weather-wise, unbelievable. Best day ever. I got to see the team. I'll have a full report. I wanted to get 2 scrimmages in, so I really kind of knew a little bit of what I was talking about before we did the show with Sebastian and everybody, but I'll give you guys the scoop. I know there's a lot of baseball maniacs there in the chat. Bridgestone, always appreciate you. I like and subscribe to the show. Raising a Cane says, Pete, any hating for JoJo today? I don't think you hate on JoJo at all, honestly. I'm not being defensive. I really don't think you do.
Listen, if that's what if that's the title they'll strap me with, then I mean, listen, I guess I have to wear it, but there's not any hating going on. So
yeah, we're always cheering for the hometown hero. And you know what, Pete, maybe that's a good place to start here, right, with the hometown hero thing, because one thing that jumped out to me on last Saturday, among many things, was you really do have a sort of return of the hometown hero. You had Malachi Toney rocking the Gabos eye black. The game ain't based on sympathy, as you told us 12 years ago, Pete, on Twitter. There it is right there. Look at all the kids with the Gabos shirts. I mean, the branding for Malachi. Miss Toney had Malahassee branded before he even left the building, so they really are working on their branding. This one, it's not theirs, but I guess no one really has a copyright on this, right? Because it's that prisoner dude that had the said it first. So like no one can really copyright it. Anyone could just do Gabos, right?
I don't know. I haven't looked up the who is, if anyone's copywritten it or not. I think that'd be more up your attorney alley there, D. But yeah, I mean, listen, unless someone's gonna stop them, might as well go sell it.
Yeah, and look, I mean, I think the big thing is the response, right? And we saw that video that went viral. You posted it not maybe a few months ago, where there was a youth football event and they were all saying, baby Jesus, Malachi Toney, all that. And this was before he even played, at UM. So clearly this is someone in Malachi Toney that had a reputation growing up, has a reputation now, and that reputation has now become a national name. All part of my take, all these kind of big national shows, Buzzing with the Boys, they're all talking about Malachi Toney, Pat McAfee. So that's a sign right there that you do have a national.
So I got this picture. Our boy Canes Cats Heat 305 just sent this one to me.
Let's see it. There you go.
He's there with Amir Sears, top recruit in a couple years here.
Yeah, Amir Sears, a monster. By the way, both of these guys, raw Miami, number 1 7-on-7 team in America. We'll have Coach.
We're not saying they're undercooked. We're saying they play for the 7-on-7 team called Raw Miami.
That's right, and they aren't undercooked because they get to school and perform pretty quickly. Dallas Wilson being another one from that program. So Amir Sears, he'll be like the Jalen Ramsey of his year. So, and that's 2028, I believe. I mean, he's a young buck. So,
can I play the devil's advocate here a little bit, D?
Go ahead.
I don't know that it's Malachi's success as much as the team's success, that would bring people in here. I want to go down memory lane a little bit because I have now been covering the recruiting thing in 15 years. You've been following it longer than I have, of course, but Ja'Cory Harris, Duke Johnson, Chad Thomas. Like, these are names that brought a similar feeling in terms of having that star status in the city. And I think at times we saw that support behind them all from the city, and we saw the excitement locally for them. I think at the end of the day, though, those teams didn't end up going and winning. So unless this team's in a completely different spot than those teams, like, so I think they're in a way better position to capitalize on it. Malachi's success is being put under the microscope, as it should be, as he's probably been the best player on the team this year. Ruben Bain also, but I don't think this team is anywhere near where it's at without Malachi right now, and that's going to go a long way. But it's more about the team success to me, D, because we've had local guys pop nationally, and Duke Johnson comes a couple years later. Dalvin Cook, Sony Michelle, they were local guys. Yeah, the program, he was doing great. He was on his way. He was a national name, but the program wasn't where it needed to be. So I think it's more about that. And we had Scotty, who made a comment at the end of yesterday's show. Scotty was a local trainer down here and said, hey, I'm hearing a lot of kids, like, even if they're not committed to Miami, say they like Miami. And I think it's more so Miami's not viewed as a joke, viewed as a joke right now.
Exactly.
By these local coaches, by these kids. It's what it is. There's a respect about Miami now. Yeah, you're still going to have some kids that go elsewhere. But the answer to this question is very simple to me, D. And it's maybe not as cut and dry because they play the same position. But if Calvin Russell comes, then I see a real, then the impact, I can see it being very tangible because they have that relationship. They play the same position, but I think they can be on the field at the same time and not really, disrupt each other's flow necessarily. They both, so that's the one I'm watching to say, hey, if we bring him in, we might have a real impact here. But I think it's more team success than anything, man.
No, I think that's a great point. I think it goes hand in hand, meaning like these guys see Malachi Toney not just be a local hero. He is now a national name. And the reason he is a national name, to your point, Pete, is we're a top 3 team. So typically the teams that win a lot of games, those are the players that become stars because they play in the biggest games. They play in the games everybody's watching. They impact the championship scene. So I think that's part of it. But I also think what Stony Spot Slick said here is accurate, which is that he's relatable because, you look at the picture right there. There's him with a 2028 kid. He looks way smaller than him. Malachi Toney, there's a million Malachi Toneys physically walking around. Now, look, he might be more athletic than a lot of them. I'm not going to say that they're all his same talent level, but I mean, guys his size, guys generally in his 40 range, guys that are quick on that. There's not a shortage of those types of profiles in South Florida. Jeremiah Smith's a much different example as far as like his physical is so rare. Unless you're Andre Johnson, that doesn't happen that often. But Malachi physically happens more often. The separator with Malachi, and I think this is what Stoney gets at, and I think this is what honestly the whole Gabos thing gets at, is this guy's intangibles are what makes him special. Pete, I've been talking about this guy since he signed in spring, and certainly through summer and fall and fall camp. And I talk about his intangibles maybe 90% of the time, and is what he actually brings physically 10%. And that's for a reason. That's really what he's about and how he has had so much success. His work ethic, the way he blocks, the way he runs routes, the way he helps his quarterback, the way he works on his game at all times, his body. This guy is exactly what you want off the field, intangible-wise, between the ears. So I think Stoney makes a really great point, which is if you're a young player in South Florida, you cannot just, hang on pull-up bars and become as big as Jeremiah Smith. But you can work like Jeremiah Smith because he's cut from the same cloth. And you could, of course, work like Malachi Toney and have some of his success. So I think he is very relatable. And, to the same degree, Pete, it's not just him. Ruben Bain, right? I mean, there's a lot of guys. Ruben Bain was not the biggest and the fastest. And he's somebody who's work, the way he plays, the way he competes. And now he is one of not just a local, like Chad Thomas, a local star. Ruben Bain is a star of college football, soon to be a star of pro football, the NFL draft. So I think you nailed it as far as the team success is a huge part of it. I think it's a mix of, yes, it's team success, but also the guys getting you there are very relatable, very well-known local guys that are becoming stars on that journey upwards. And everybody in the nation knows who they are. NFL knows who they are. And if you're a kid in Miami-Dade or Broward County or Palm Beach County, you're looking up to Malachi Toney and Ruben Bain, among others we can get to here.
Yeah, and I think part of the reason he's relatable too is just because he's still technically a high school kid. Like, he's friends with a lot of these guys, so it's relatable because they know him. It's not like he's a year removed from them, because he's really the same age as them. So I think that's what I'm saying. I think he might have a bigger impact on this particular class coming out. We'll see moving forward. Obviously, as we see, he's a guy that players look up to, the youth kids. We played the video over the summer that I don't know if we had the audio, but it was a little kid who was like, Malachi Toney touched my hand. Malachi Toney touched my hand. I'm not going to wash it. And that was before he played a snap at Miami, by the way. That was over the summer, spring, summer. So he's got the cachet in the community, no doubt about that. But teams got to keep winning, man, because if not, if you become a joke real quickly, you drop a game that you're not supposed to.
No doubt. And that's what a lot of people are expecting still, especially some of the naysayers. Nashville saying that Malachi can also sling the ball. The state championship game highlights were not him scrambling. It was him throwing elite skill level. I was there. He was like Cam Ward. I mean, he was throwing. He was not looking to run at all. Actually, Darion Coleman probably runs more, at least in that game, ran more than Malachi Toney. Darion Coleman, the commit for this year's quarterback class. Malachi Toney was, of course, Malachi Toney. Those two faced off in the state championship game, and Toney was really, really throwing it. Coleman threw well also, but with the team he had around him and the way he was seeing the field, Malachi was like next level with what he was doing. Some other names, to talk about locally, Pete. Mark Fletcher, one of the stars of this program or of this team. You look at, we'll see if we get Josh Moore going. That'd be good to see. You get Josh Moore going, Jordan Lyle, some more local guys, Armando Blunt, Moten on the defensive side of the football. Of course, we talked about Ruben Bain, Wesley Bassaint, outstanding. The corners with Frederic, Xavier Lucas. What about Bryce Fitzgerald? Right? Remember how many defensive backs left South Florida because they want to be All-Americans? Well, we had OJ Frederic as an All-America last year, freshman All-America. Fitzgerald trending to be a freshman All-America this year. So I'm just kind of going down memory lane, Pete, and you're the person to talk to about this because you remember all these battles. If you are the new Calvin Ridley, right, or Jerry Jeudy, you see Malachi Toney, say, okay, that's me. Instead of looking and seeing Amari Cooper and saying, that's me. What DBs do we lose? I mean, take your pick. Patch Surtain.
Hey, we're not going to have to wait very long here because Nick Lanier, we'll see if he reclassifies, but Nick Lanier, they think he's in that mold, D. And that's going to be a battle. So we're not going to have to find out very long for that answer. Whether it's this class or it's next class, I think we'll see because he's in that same mold. D.
Derek Cooper, another one too, right?
Yeah.
Derek Cooper, to me, you watch Texas run for zero. I mean, Texas's running game. We talked about it on Group Chat Sports, which, by the way, I know you just cut some new videos with Clay Fink on some prospects. So always like and subscribe to Group Chat Sports. Over 2,000 followers. Appreciate everybody's support there as we put out more national content. But we've been talking about these other teams, and Texas's offensive line is absolutely atrocious. I mean, one of the worst I've seen. Florida completely decimated them, and that's Florida, a team that Carson Beck didn't play great in that game, but it's not like he was getting harassed by the Florida Gators. It was a light touch on the defensive line going against Carson Beck and the boys. So if I'm Derek Cooper and I see Jackson Campbell going to Miami and I see Texas scrambling just to have something functional, I know where I'd want to go, but maybe he doesn't want to be there. Stoney Spot says, I don't think he wants to be there. That's going to happen sometimes. You're going to lose guys like that occasionally. Derek Thomas went to Alabama in his prime, one of the best players of all time from South Miami High School.
I feel like when there's a guy who doesn't necessarily want to be in Miami, that makes Mario want him more.
It's like
am I wrong? Am I wrong for saying
no,
that?
No, man. It's like a girl. It's like anything else. That's how it goes. But he also Mario cares about the idea that the best players South Florida go to Miami, especially as South Florida. We said it, Pete. We were very honest saying, and we're the biggest South Florida homers. At least I am, and we were saying South Florida had been going down. But I think what you're seeing now is it trending back up. A lot of really good freshmen making plays across the country. You look at Ruben Bain, of course, one of the best players in the country. Jeremiah Smith, probably those are the two single best players in the country between Jeremiah Smith and Ruben Bain. Fernando Mendoza, another guy in terms of stats and Heisman odds, he's up there in that group. Those are all three guys from Miami. Jeremiah Smith played football in Broward, but from Miami. Malachi Toney, a lot of people nationally are saying he is the single best freshman in the country. Bryce, of course. So you're seeing a lot more South Florida guys starting to come up, and I think that's an area that we were wondering, did the demographics shift? Did too many people move out? Was cost of living too much? Was this going to be a permanent recalibration where South Florida wasn't what it used to be? But now I think we are seeing South Florida come back, and the timing is good because, as you said, Pete, the team is good, and it's not a joke. And for those who don't understand, like, Pete, you interviewed these kids. Well, just take yourself back to like 2015 or 2013 when you were really, I mean, like, was Miami even on the level with the FSUs who was rolling at the time, or the Alabamas?
Heck no. I mean, you had FSU was a top 3 team, top 5 team in the country. I mean, it was just, Miami was not, remember, you had a lot of things going on. The facilities, there was still the lingering probation stuff. The team just flat out wasn't looking the part. And you don't realize that when you're in the moment, like how much that matters recruiting wise. Like, guys go to Miami now and they also are seeing other schools, and Miami just looks like the better team when they walk into practice.
Yeah.
And that makes a bigger difference. And I didn't really know. I was 17, 18 years old, interviewing a lot of these people at the time, and I didn't understand it just as a fan. But the optics weren't good whatsoever, man. They were really, really bad. And like, yeah, there was a lot of stuff locally that probably didn't help Miami in terms of some of the high school coaches and stuff, but Miami wasn't giving the coaches much to like hang their hat on if you were trying to push a kid to Miami. I wanted to bring this up real quick from Boyo. He's asking, what's the minimum age for NFL? Mally will be here 3 years. It's 3 years removed from high school. Whether or not he'll be at Miami 3 years, we'll see because the landscape is.
He'll be here. Come on.
I hope so. But he'll be, but he's got to be in college 3 years.
Yeah, no, look, obviously it's high school or it's college free agency. So you always have to say that, but I think also part of
Hey, listen, D, there's big time players on the roster this year that were almost not here this year.
That's
so
why
we know that.
I think you're right. But I think at the end of the day, another part of it is this is the place where you can do all the stuff that you want to do, right? So there's financial aspects to all this. I think teams are going to keep great players because that's what you do. Same thing as any other sport, whether it's NBA, NFL, or otherwise. The great players that are great people are the ones you keep. So I expect him to stay and us to keep him and do what we need to do there. But like, you can accomplish all of your goals at Miami, even like a Jeremiah Smith. So my big concern was when Jeremiah Smith had his big season, people were like, oh, you got to go to Ohio State to be Jeremiah Smith. But the truth is, and I think people know this because these kids aren't stupid. They saw how good our offense was with Cam Ward. They know if Jeremiah Smith would have come to Miami, he still would have been Jeremiah Smith. It's not like back in the day where we had, horrible quarterback situations, horrible offensive line. And you were like, man, if I don't know, Jerry Jeudy, just use that example again, went to Miami, would he still be getting the ball like he was getting from Tua and with this great offensive line? Probably not, right? But now here in Miami, if you say, okay, if we had Jeremiah Smith the last 2 years, would he have been put up numbers? Of course, he would have been just as good. He would have been just as good. So there's no counter example to say, wow, you would have been so much better off if you went to this school instead of Miami.
Yeah, you're taking that out of the equation because I always say that now, like looking back on it. You just used the perfect example. Like Amari Cooper and Jeudy, like, are they in the same spot as they are now? Probably not. Like, unfortunately.
They made the right choice. I hate to say it, but I mean, you can't argue Pat Surtain. I mean, you cannot argue that those guys did the right thing for their careers, given how it turned out. Now, Jeremiah Smith didn't do the wrong thing for his career. I don't think he made a bad decision going to Ohio State. Obviously, look at the receivers they're putting out. They won the championship his first year, so certainly didn't make a bad decision. But I don't think if he went to Miami, this Miami, you would be talking about him as someone that's like not living up to their potential. He would have been catching touchdowns from Cam Ward on national TV. He'd be catching touchdowns from Carson Beck on national TV, and he would still be the same, freak of nature that he is. There's a lot of good players, man. It's a good time. South Florida's coming back, Pete, man, as I just kind of scroll through. You got obviously Mendoza at quarterback, who's statistically, Heisman odds, draft odds, I think we could all say is a top 5 quarterback, right? We'll belabor the point. We've talked about him enough. CJ Bailey, very, very good statistical quarterback. Big game for him this weekend against Notre Dame. Let's see if he can produce. But he's also a very, very high-level quarterback. Just thinking about South Florida guys. Offensive line never panned out. Remember, we thought this was going to be an offensive line. At least I thought it'd be like an offensive line renaissance a couple of years ago when you had the weight limits lifted and you had a bunch of guys signing with LSU and Clemson and teams like that. Thinking like class of 2020 to 2021. Remember, we had like Marcus Tate, Doomerville, this guy, what's his name, Martinez. They had a bunch of guys going to high major schools, and you thought it was going to be, all right, this is the South Florida offensive line era because they lifted the weight restrictions. That didn't quite happen. Offensive line still struggling. Gunnar Hansen, the left tackle of FSU, got demolished by our guys. But at other positions, I think, man, tight end is hot. Mason Taylor. What's the name of the kid from Arizona State? Mateer.
I remember we watched him at Central back. It was Central, right?
Yeah.
Or was that his brother?
He bounced around. He was like one of these transfer kids. He was like in a ton of schools.
Yeah.
So Mateer, running back wise, I mean, Mark Fletcher, Isaac Brown, right? You had CJ Donaldson at Ohio State. You got South Florida. I
don't know. You can't claim CJ Donaldson, man. You've been talking a lot of bad about him this year.
What are you talking about? I like him. I just think our guys are better. I think he's good. I love CJ Donaldson. Amari Daniels at Texas A&M. These are the top teams in the country, all with South Florida running back. So that's back. Wide receiver, Jeremiah Smith, the best in the business. Malachi Toney, best freshman in America. We got some of those guys. Who else has good South Florida receivers coming up besides the ones on our roster? I'm trying to think. Who there's someone else. There's other guys nationally.
Well, Ja'Cory Barney, someone mentioned him in the comments.
Yeah,
he's had a nice start. He's hit a nice start to his career. I don't know what his numbers are this year, but I've seen him in action. And he's a good. I liked him coming out. Yeah, he's had a good year, man. 23 catches, 348, 3 touchdowns, 15.1 per catch. I would love to bring him home.
Yeah, that was a great call.
55 catches as a freshman last year, man. We liked him. I told you I watched him a lot in high school at Palmetto. Because my girlfriend's cousin was his quarterback, and I would go to a lot of those games with Robbie and Bobby and those guys. And Barney was always one of my favorites. I was a little bit surprised we kind of let him.
We didn't let him. We wanted to get him. I was a loss. They were mad the day he committed to Nebraska. That was a loss.
Bad. That's bad. Then
they might have been a little late on him, and they'll admit it.
Yeah, but I don't remember us like circling back on him. Is my thing, D. Like the way we're circling back on a lot of these guys now. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's what I'm saying. Like I really wish we would have fought for that one.
I remember that day that we lost Barney, and I think we lost Justice Scott the same day. He ended up circling back and committing to Miami. But I remember that day. They were mad that day. They wanted Ja'Cory Barney.
Lawayne McCoy is a good talent, as Kyle notes here.
You're right. Cortez Mills is doing pretty good for Nebraska too.
Cortez Mills, another one that we liked. I mean, listen,
Romello Princeton's actually having a good year. He needs some.
What do you mean? Actually, he's a good talent, man. He needed to.
He is, but I mean,
he needed to get out from underneath Manny to flourish, as many players do.
Another raw Miami guy. One man will ask, what weight restriction? There was a restriction on, like, if you were too big, you couldn't play. Basically, Pop Warner. So they lifted that restriction. So now you could play with your age, even if you're huge. So the thought was that was going to develop more offensive linemen. You had a bunch of offensive linemen coming up, going to big schools. LSU signed 2 kids. Clemson signed somebody. It was all like kind of one time. So you're like, all right, this is the Big Baby Seymour went to Miami, who was a local legend, although never really developed physically. So you thought, okay, this is going to be the run of Miami, South Florida offensive linemen, and that didn't really happen.
I will say this, who's one of the top 10, I believe, interior graded offensive linemen in the country right now.
Is it Telek Lockett?
No, I got something better for you.
Give it to me. Jonathan
JoJo Tow Truck Dennis.
Really?
Yeah, he's one of the. I saw the other day. He had an interesting little roundabout there. He left Miami, went to Central Missouri, and now he's at Louisiana Tech. And I saw the other day, I don't know if it was PFF or one of these other websites had him as like the number 7 graded interior lineman in the country right now.
Good for him. The guy Mario signed out of high school at South Dade over to Oregon.
Yeah.
And defensive end, I think South Florida has become the premier location for defensive ends in the country. We talked about that. Brian Burns got 2 sacks yesterday. Bosa brothers, we know what they can do. Greg Rousseau, Nick Bonito is one of the top pass rushers in the NFL at the moment. Shamar Stewart, first round. Dallas Turner, first round. Of course, Ruben Bain, the best in the country right now. R. Mason Thomas for Oklahoma. He's ready to terrorize Arch Manning. So there's a few of those guys. Kenyatta Jackson playing for Ohio State. So that's a position that looks good for Miami. Defensive tackle, I think Moton is probably one of the better ones. That's a position that there's just not that many guys at that spot. Linebacker, Besaint, Vincent Shavers from Nebraska, playing some pretty good football as well. And then defensive backs, Bryce Fitzgerald, OJ Frederick, Lucas. We're keeping more of those top defensive backs. I think that's one big change too. You don't see like South Florida defensive backs just balling for Alabama like you used to, or Georgia. Although Daniel Harris, I believe, is starting for Georgia still, right? He's a South Florida guy. But yeah. Oh, here we go. Look at that. Big Baby Seymour, Conference USA OL of the Week twice this year for Western Kentucky. I was his biggest fan, man. I thought he'd be an incredible center, and kind of didn't.
Injuries, right? He had some bad injuries here.
Injuries, body wasn't right. He didn't take care of his body or whatever it was. I don't know what he was doing out the field. It didn't look right when it turns to just his.
He was a phenom. Remember, he was like a freshman phenom, and it was Navon Donaldson, and then it was him. But everyone's like, "Oh, he's the next Navon Donaldson." Shout out to the ghost of Navon Donaldson. When Donaldson was a top 50 type recruit in the country, I believe. So, top 100 for sure.
Great question here from my guy Martin. He's asking, "Are we going live at the Lickin' for Louisville?"
Yes, we are. Yes.
Yeah, man.
So we'll be there. We'll be there from probably noon, 1 o'clock on, man. Like we are on any other game day. So we'll have those details coming up soon.
Look at that. Shout out to Big Baby Seymour. We're learning something here. First team all conference for Western Kentucky. Good for him. But yeah, man. But overall, put a bow on it as someone who is a veteran of the Matthew Thomas Wars. What were the other ones?
Dalvin
Ridley
Cook.
Was a big one.
Alex
Collins. Yeah, Dalvin Cook.
Alex Collins was a tough one. Rest in peace.
The American Heritage Battle.
That was a war. That was a war. That was an entire war because there were so many kids coming out of there, and the war was lost.
The war was lost. Those guys are all getting paid tens of millions of dollars to play to rep the SEC and the NFL. So yeah, I mean, overall though, Pete, I mean, would you agree? You knowing just the big picture, not just the players, the people around the players, right? The families, the coaches, the people in this community. It feels like we're going in the right direction here.
Yeah, definitely. I think that again, Mario's restored respect is what I'll call it. You can't expect every player, coach, parent to be diehard Canes fans and just say, "Hey, I'm gonna send the kid over there, right? And we're gonna really push Miami." That's an unrealistic way to look at it. But what you can have is real respect for the program, and in terms of you have to look at Miami with an open mind. I don't think that people were approaching Miami with an open mind. I think it was very closed-minded. Like, we'll go down to campus because we live half an hour away. We're down here in South Florida, but that's about it. That's the only reason we're going. You have a nice history, but they haven't shown me anything to say that we should send our kid there for the development of his future. There's not many arguments against that right now. I'd be hard pressed to find one, unless you're really nitpicking a certain situation. But that's where I think the difference is.
100%. You can make. I mean, it used to be we couldn't make the football argument. Our only argument was always just play in front of your parents, your family. Like, that was the argument. There was no, this is what's best for you as a football player. Whereas now, I think pretty much at every position, you can say, this is what's best for you as a football player. Quarterback, we haven't developed a local quarterback yet, but shoot, same reasons, the same things you sell on the transfer kids are the same things you're going to sell to these kids. So when you didn't get Diabell, this class is a big one. You're right. Calvin Russell, can you flip Derek Cooper? I love Jason Lopez. To me, he's someone that I think we need to get. The more I watch him, I'd be shocked if he's not a stud, and we'll see. But I'm just glad to be, like you said, a real team in South Florida and not a joke amongst people who watch us every week. So, comment here on the Lickin' that I wanted to get to from our guy Martin. Clearly, he's been there. He says, best to order takeout and bring it to the game. Shrimp and salmon are great from the Lickin'. Yeah, so look, if you're in a hurry, you're leaving work or whatever, trying to get some food on the way to the game, just go to the Lickin'. Take out, eat it in the car, eat it at the tailgate, eat it right there and run. If you're right there across the street, this is the most convenient way to eat, and not just eat to eat. Eat actual big-time food. That's the kind of food you want to eat on a game day. Shrimp, salmon, chicken, you name it, they got it at the Lickin'. By the way, all this food talks got me pretty hungry. I'm not going to be up in Miami Gardens area. I'm going to be down south. I'm going to the fall ball scrimmage at the Light. So I'm going to talk about East Las Canarias Cuban Express right there in the Dayland Mall Dining Pavilion, about 5-minute drive from the Light. 7 different types of croquetas, all kinds of sandwiches, cubaritos. Look at these tostones options. I've never had these. I'm going to get this today. I'm going to get one of these today because this thing is unbelievable. Tostones preparado, loaded fries, just like different kinds of flavors on top of the classic style. All the pastries, empanadas, pastelitos right there, some tequeños, little Venezuelan flavor. They're equal opportunity. It's not just Cuban food, although they do Cuban food better than anybody on the planet. There you got the juices, the cafes, everything you need. Flan, natilla. That was always my favorite as a kid. Right there, $5. Very affordable. East Las Canarias Cuban Express, the best in the business.
We have breaking news here, D, from Dennis Smith.
What's he saying? Let's see it. Pull it up. Pull it up. Pull it up.
1 week from today, the asylum is open for work. The Electric Juice Asylum.
I like electric. Electric Juice to me has stuck. On the word, I know Mike's not on, so we don't have to ask him. But where are we at on Electric Juice? I personally love it. I think it's cool. It's unique, and
I think it's cool. I think it's cool, and it's amazing until you lose and it gets mocked. Quite frankly.
Hey, well, it's
Don't
like
lose.
It's like the Kanye meme. I guess we'll never know. At least not the last few. We'll see. We'll lose eventually. Hopefully next season. But yeah, I really want us to just smoke these ACC teams, man. Just so we could get rid of this boogeyman of like, oh wait, watch out for the ACC. Like these teams suck. We know it. You know it. We all know that these teams suck. So like, it'd be nice to have a full season proving that, hey, there's no like boogeyman under the covers. Like you're the better team. You're playing bad competition. You got a quarterback like Carson Beck. These teams suck. But I'm going to drop a little bit of recruiting tidbits here. So stay on for some recruiting tidbits. But first, want to talk about elite recruits. Let's talk about elite performance with UHealth, University of Miami Sports Medicine Institute. Pete, are you going to the pitch tomorrow?
Sunday morning.
Sunday. So if you're an athlete like Pete, just an active guy, you probably know how hard it is to sit on the injured list with pain or injury. Maybe you try to hack your own rehab, come back early. But if compromising your movement or performance is not an option, call the experts at the University of Miami Sports Medicine Institute. Whether it's elite competition, University of Miami athletics, everyday movement, you and me, the University of Miami Sports Medicine Institute is the trusted choice for those who demand excellence. Set an appointment today at uhealthsports.com. All right, Pete, a couple of guys I wanted to highlight here because these are names to watch from a recruiting standpoint. I'm not gonna do a full bank. I'll probably drop one either this weekend or maybe Monday. I'll be digging for information, just kind of catch up on the bye week because we're visiting guys. So my experience is a lot of information on the bye week. So I want to compile all that, give it to all you guys. There's just some tidbits here. Player who I think will be visiting us in about, let's say, 3 weeks. That is Milan Paris from Akron, Ohio. Recently decommitted from Iowa State. All the big schools are after this guy. This is not like kind of slam dunk for the Canes or anything like that, but the Canes have been involved from the beginning. 4-star player, but I think even as a low 4-star, number 37 receiver in the country on the composite, I think he's underrated. Oregon's in the mix. He's actually visiting there right now, hopefully getting rained on. So the Oklahoma Sooners are in the mix. But then the Miami Hurricanes with Malachi Toney, which, by the way, his success doesn't just help you recruit Florida guys, helps you recruit all kinds of talented receivers. But Milan Paris will be visiting us here October 25th. So I guess that's 2 weeks from now. I said 3 weeks. I apologize. He'll be visiting us that weekend. And man, I mean, I like now that everybody always see this guy and say Iowa State commit. Let's get that out of our head. First of all, he's decommitted. This guy would have to beat all the top teams in the country for, and he's a 4-star player. So putting all that context where it needs to be, just watching this film, Pete, this to me is a big time player. Forget the word sleeper doesn't apply here. This is a guy.
Yeah, 100%. And I think the issue is, I think Miami probably felt like they were a bit early on this the flip watch here, maybe a month ago, when they offered, and now the Oregons and Oklahomas have come into the equation. So I think this is becoming a much more difficult battle than maybe they thought a few weeks back.
Yeah, and
which is a good sign. Let me tell you though, because it shows you're on the right sort of player.
And by the way, we got to start remembering we're Miami now. We've been winning big time recruiting battles for a while. And now not only are we winning big time recruiting battles, we are, top 3 team, right? So that has a lot of true freshman All-Americans. So I think this is going to allow us to, we were already in this weight class. That's why you have Malachi Toney at Miami. That's why you have all these guys that we have at Miami. But I think we're going to be more consistently in this weight class now that we've proven on the field that we can get it done, at least so far. So
I'm surprised you haven't made any comments about him attending a Jesuit school, D.
Well, I mean, the education is beyond reproach. The guy's discipline, his IQ is elite, and his spiritual.
Listen, I don't know, man. There are some people I went to Berlin with that don't have the highest IQ, but the disciplinary and the militaristic, I could see.
Look at this route, man. This guy's legit, man. How Iowa State, man. Shout out to those guys. These guys,
he really is.
Are great evaluators.
No, I said it, man. They get these big body receivers, man. Higgins, who was a second-round pick to the Texans last year, who's another South Florida boy, by the way. We're talking about all these South Florida guys. How about Jaden Higgins, who was a high second-round pick last year? Westminster, yeah. So him. Who were we talking? Hakeem Butler a few years back, before that, Alan Lazard as well. So they've got an eye for it. Matt Campbell, man.
Woo! Man, this guy is super talented, man. We're on some of these big guys. I know Tyron Evans is committed. Even Calvin Russell, who has a lot of upside. I'm not sure this guy's not the most talented guy in the equation. Just seeing some of the stuff he does, like his suddenness for how tall he is pretty impressive here. There you go. Birdstone saying he likes him over the Daniels kid out of Bama, who, by the way, I like him too. There's some good players.
He's a little he's skinnier than Paris. I don't think he's as filled out as Paris, but he's a good one too. I don't want him going to Florida. I'll tell you that.
And run blocking, so he already fits in with Malachi Toney and the boys. Which, by the way, CJ Daniels, I think, set the tone this year for run blocking with our receivers. I think now with Malachi Toney, when the best player at your position, you come in and he's a star, who Malachi Toney is, and he's blocking people. I think that's a pretty good tone setting. Another guy that we're in the mix with, Pete, and I wanted to highlight him. We talked about him maybe for the season a little bit. We are still very much involved here, and that is Indiana commit Jamar Owens out of the Atlanta area. One of your favorites. So we wanted to watch his midseason highlights. Here's his midseason highlights, Pete. Good coverage here. Did he pick that off?
Yeah.
Whoa. Strong hands, man, on this dude to get that one done. But we love this guy based on what we saw as a junior. And now watching him, man, he's got big hands. He's just snatching that thing. Good competition here in Atlanta area. Quick to diagnose, nice tackle. Indiana is one of those programs that I just automatically respect their evals, respect what they do. If you look at they actually talk about South Florida. I know this Owens is from Atlanta, which is probably the other hot spot along with South Florida as far as the two best regions for players in the country. Atlanta's probably, quite frankly, matched South Florida, which wasn't the case before. South Florida used to be number one by itself. But anyways, Indiana's gotten a lot of guys from South Florida that were good evals. D'Angelo Pons, who Signetti got James Madison, then brought over. You're talking about him as one of the best corners in the country. He'll be covering Decorian Moore this weekend in a great matchup against Oregon. You have Jamari Sharp, Amari Knight. These are all South Florida guys playing for Indiana in their defensive backfield. So they'll evaluate everywhere. They obviously went to Atlanta and found this guy. And I like him. I think the way he tackles, the way he moves, he's a very well-rounded player. What are you seeing with Jamar Owens as you watch this?
Well, I mean, we said it from the jump when we were watching his junior highlights over the summer. Like, this is not a guy that's Miami just started recruiting. Corey Heatherman, this is a Corey Heatherman offer in person in late January. Like, they had evaluated him, they liked him, but then when he saw the kid in person, and you know how that goes. When they offer a kid in person, face-to-face like that, especially when it's a defensive coordinator, it shows that there's a legit, there's a legit interest there. So this was one, I don't want to say handpicked by Heatherman, but he's got the stamp of approval, and we see how the safeties are being utilized in his scheme. So that's another, we talk about what some of the offense is doing, what these pass rushers are doing. But hey, imagine
Good speed
recruiting
there.
to play the safety position here right now with the way that Jacoby Thomas and Poyser have been playing, with the free safety play that we've seen from Bryce Fitzgerald. So it's not just some of these other spots we've been talking about. You've got a lot of ammo to recruit with. But again, you'd expect Miami to win a recruiting battle here against Indiana, but it's not like they're giving him a lot to say, hey, I need to decommit right now. We'll see maybe this weekend after they play Oregon.
Here you see him at corner. He's all over the place. That's what I'm noticing with these highlights. He's playing corner. He's playing safety. He's coming off the edge, similar to Jacoby Thomas, right, who was moving around a lot against FSU. He's playing special teams, kickoff. He's returning, so it's the athletic part and the kind of crazy, mindset. You need to be a kickoff guy. So he's showing you, to me, a lot on these highlights. There you see him playing more of a corner spot, coming up, avoiding the block, making the tackle. So this, to me, seems like a college-ready player. The highlights and the competition he's going against, this is college-type competition, right? High-level Atlanta football. Think about Coach Etheridge. Think about Coach Harris. They recruit in this area a lot. They've been getting guys from Atlanta. So I like all these guys. Lord Bacon saying, put some respect on Miami's name. We're putting respect. This is a battle between top 10 programs right there. I'm a sneaky Indiana fan. I do like Indiana, but obviously Miami could have the upper hand. It's closer to home too. Talking about Atlanta to Miami, an easier transition than going over to IU. So I think that helps Miami. We have Atlanta area players committed with Cortez Redding, Jontavius Wyman. I believe they played with Owens at some point. Yeah, that's what Kyle's pointing. I think they played all together at some point. Johnny Lagoon saying Signetti's old, negative recruit him. He's not going to be there long one way or the other. He's 66. He's got a lot of energy, man. He'll be there into his 70s. What's Bill Belichick, 73?
Unless Florida plucks him.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know who I want to go to Florida. That Napier hire was like the worst hire they could have made and set him back a year. They made so many bad hires in a row. You're just hoping eventually they might hit the right one. That's what you get scared of. Luckily, we already played them twice and defeated them by multiple touchdowns and humiliated them up front. But you hope they screw up this hire too. But yeah. I don't know. James Franklin, he might be the one I was worried about going to Florida was James Franklin. I thought that would be.
Yeah, he would worry me too. Man, between him, Lane, Signetti, I don't know how much of a candidate he is. They got some good candidates there, man. Good time to be a Florida fan, man.
Yeah, good time. Just got beat by 3 touchdowns by Miami. But as far as trying to get I would try to get Franklin if I was them and just say, hey, Penn State's not respecting you. You're worried about getting fired all the time. Come to Florida and we'll give you all this money and we'll treat you the way you're based on your record. That's what I would do if I was Florida, and I would get Franklin down here. Ladarius Benson mentioning Fran Brown. Fran Brown could be good. He could be a complete disaster. He doesn't really have a track record. I think of James Franklin, his track record, 9 games twice at Vanderbilt, and then building Penn State, which to me they were fresh off a pedophilia scandal, and they were never Ohio State or Michigan to begin with, and then they have this kind of success. That's the guy. That's the name I do not want to see pop up in this coaching search.
We're talking a lot about Atlanta. Atlanta area schools, Buford. I know Miami will have coaches out there tonight. I believe Jason Taylor will be out there checking out Bryce Perry Wright, 5-star defensive end committed to Texas A&M, and then Dre Quinn, recent decommitment from Clemson. I mentioned on the work Discord that there's a tight relationship between Jason Taylor and Dre Quinn's trainer, so that could help Miami in that recruitment. As Sean David here talking about Douglas High School says, it's kind of like Buford, but yeah, they'll be at Buford tonight.
Yeah, and Sean, we just talked about Jamar Owens, so yeah, definitely are looking at that. So what you're hearing matches up with what I'm hearing, that Jamar Owens could be visiting Miami soon. So keep an eye on that one. Trey Moore asking, anyone from Belen that the Canes are after? Not now. We're struggling a little bit. Always
baseball,
good,
right? They have a baseball commit.
Oh, baseball. Yeah, we have a baseball player committed. Football-wise, struggling a little bit. I think we should go back to the kind of wing T offense that we played in the past and just live with our identity. But we're struggling a tad, still producing upstanding citizens and students. But yeah, football's a little behind. Belen guys, the best BUZZN players have left BUZZN and went elsewhere. Bryce Fitzgerald won a state championship basketball for BUZZN, was also on the football team. He transferred to Columbus.
Had to go elsewhere to flourish. Very, very glad he did.
Fernando Mendoza, another one. Fernando Mendoza actually played behind Miami second baseman who just graduated, Dorian Gonzalez. Dorian Gonzalez actually started at quarterback over Fernando Mendoza. Dorian Gonzalez eventually switched to baseball only and went to Miami, played baseball there, played football, though, for several years, and was starting quarterback over Mendoza. Great Miami career, hit a home run in the regional, one of the biggest home runs in Miami history, Miami recent history, let's say, but really an awesome player and an awesome moment. Johnny Lagoon says, BUZZN needs to go full air raid. There has to be some Cuban guys that are small and fast, like Wes Welker, Amendola. Well, obviously Jason Lopez, he fits that category. But it's hard. You got to pass block when it's hard being so small and pass blocking. I like running those kind of like Georgia Tech type of offenses that teams don't like to prepare for. One more name, Pete, I want to get to. This is a name that no one's talking about, but I wanted to highlight here. And I don't have this is a name that's new on my radar. I heard it from a non-UM source, right? But somebody who I trust. So keep an eye on this name. And I pulled it up and I said, man, I hope we're recruiting this guy. This is Gavin Gregory. He's from Beloit, Iowa. This is in the Youngstown area of Ohio. Typically a pretty Ohio State friendly area. I believe Urban Meyer's from this area. 6'7", 240. He lists a 4.6, 140-yard dash. If his numbers are anywhere near reality, he's a beast. This guy, look at the basketball picture. We'll watch some of his basketball highlights. He's dunking on everybody. He is a Toledo commitment, Gavin Gregory. And I watched, this is just his last game. I watched this clip and I'm like, man, I really hope we're after this guy. Look at the speed and balance here going down the sideline. There's a class of 26 guy, again, Toledo commit. But these boys are evaluating if they're pulling up guys like this. Here you got him playing defensive end. Look at the closing speed. Boom. Nice little hit. But if this guy's anywhere near 6'7", 240, like they say, there you see him playing defensive end again. This is just one game. I love the fact that we're out there evaluating guys like this. We're trying to find the absolute best player. Don't wait till this guy to have 500 yards as a freshman and look awesome and then have to pay him a ton of money in the portal. Just get him right now if you trust your evaluation. So, again, this is not something I heard directly from UM, but a name that I heard from someone I trust that might be looking at is this Gavin Gregory. And as I pulled up his huddle page, it checked out. The guy's a good basketball player. He's dunking on people. Let me see if I can find some good basketball highlights. But this dude is an interesting player to me.
Reaching out to him right now.
Let's find out. Let's get the scoop on old Gavin Greggs. But yeah, Luke Brewer is a name you've heard often for this spot. Israel Briggs already committed. We're visiting him this week. He's in, right? Israel Briggs is going to be a Cane, barring anything crazy. We want him. He's the guy. But you want to add another big body, preferably from the Midwest, because we know those Midwest tight ends can do work. Luke Brewer from Iowa, battling Iowa for him. Miami's in good shape there. But again, watching this guy, look at this. I like the way this guy's, the way he looks, the way he moves, the way he competes. Two-way player, basketball, just a lot to like.
I mean, I'm going to be honest with you, D. I kind of liked what I've seen here better than what I saw from the other kid from Iowa.
Yeah, well, this guy's from Ohio, but yeah, the kid from Iowa. Well, also, one thing about Brewer is I can't find they haven't put out his senior film. I heard his senior film really is his junior film, but he reclassed. So this year's film I heard is really good. Not that last year's is bad. It's just I heard this year's pops even more.
Ooh, yeah, look at that drop step. Let's go.
This guy could play, man. And look at his size. He's not like a skinny kid.
Oh, look at him track the ball there, man.
Yeah, he hangs in the air. I like this guy. I like how he's playing defense. I like how he's running with the ball. Toledo, people laugh at Toledo. Toledo gets like first-round picks every year somehow. Remember they had that defensive lineman, Alexander, I believe is his name, who was last year was a defensive end.
Yeah, we were talking about him on group chat yesterday, Clay and I.
Yeah, so he was a good player. They got a safety this year who's probably going to be a first-round, second-round type pick. The Quinyon Mitchell, who they got from Florida, went up to Toledo, stayed there. Saban tried to get him in the portal, couldn't. He ended up going first round, maybe one of the best corners in the country. He didn't play as good yesterday, but one of the best corners in the country. And Pete, hold on. My boy Temmie saying good morning, D Money. He's Temmie, man. Whatever. No love for Pete. No love for Pete.
No.
Well, I want you guys to make up, man.
That clown Temmie.
We're top three in the country. We can't be fighting like that.
Clown.
Come on, Tim. Let's extend an olive branch.
Lucky I don't block him from the chat. We got the radar watch here from Canes Cats Heat 305. D. I don't know that baseball scrimmage is happening, my friend. I apologize.
Ugh. All right, let me text my dad. Tell him to get, if he's not watching, to get some, maybe get lunch. So maybe I'm free after all. Grab some lunch here. Dang, what a bummer.
Unfortunately. Yeah. D, you want to talk about some guys here that second half of the season, we've been talking about, hey, you got to continue to build depth out. Hopefully you're up by multiple scores in some of these games that you can continue to extend these rotations a bit. So let's get into some guys who we expect to kind of take bigger roles on here and emerge as solid backups.
Yeah, I'm watching the wide receiver position. Who is going to step up at the wide? Everybody's focusing on the number 3 receiver, right? Is JoJo Trader, that whole thing. And that's obviously still up in the air. I think Keelan Marion is the favorite there, and he could potentially emerge. Remember, he's still new to this whole deal, and Carson Beck and everything. He showed up in summer. So we'll see that position. But what about behind those guys and pushing up? Josh Moore, I think we've seen him already. He is going to be critical to me in ACC play. We know he can moss all of these ACC defensive backs. Competition probably more similar to what you saw at USF when he was toying with guys. So that's a name I really, really am watching closely. I'll add another name from that freshman class, which is Dalen Upshaw, Pete. He was my favorite recruit as far as like the underrated guy that I just liked more than most. That was my guy. I saw him in camp, spring, and in fall camp. I thought he looked good in all those scenarios. We would talk a lot about the freshman receivers on this show. Yes, Malachi Toney. Yes, Josh Moore. But it was really the freshman receivers as a group that was impressive, with Dalen Upshaw making plays consistently as well. Good route runner, good with the ball in his hands, good speed, good size. Really not much that he's not giving you, right, as far as all-around game. So I'm a Dalen Upshaw fan as far as potentially working his way up.
My guy from that group is Tony Johnson. I think that emergence here, D. I think that his the veteran play that he's going to bring to the table, he's a very easy person to trust, and I think they do trust him. We've seen him play. We've seen him get some snaps in these moments, right? Obviously doesn't have huge production to this point. And I would love some of these young guys like an Upshaw to step up here. But to me, it's really about finding more guys that you trust, like a Tony Johnson here. And I think he's a guy who almost caught 50 balls last year. I'm very confident that he could be an impact player for this team.
P, you banned my guy Temmie.
Yeah, he's a clown. He's done.
Temmie, come on, my guy.
He's a clown. He was on the instant reaction, talking all this mess. He's a loser.
Oh man, Temmie.
And I'm very good with the haters, but
I think he's the first guy banned.
He's out of here. He's banned.
Oh man,
later, skater.
Sorry, Tim. Play by the rules. Appreciate you, man. Always appreciate all your support. You're the man. Appreciate you. Martin says Tony Johnson's sister plays basketball for the Gators. She played. Now she's coaching. He actually did a storm sessions with him, which may come out it may have come out now. Let me just check. But keep an eye out for. I did a storm sessions interview with Tony Johnson. Really, just awesome dude. Rooting for him. I had heard he was a great guy. No surprise. Kind of getting to know him and talking to his family and interviewing him. But he was awesome. That's a show I do for the University of Miami. The long form player interviews. Here on the official Miami Hurricane website. Really, really love doing it. Great way to meet the players and just kind of learn more about them and their families. And Tony Johnson, great character guy. And I think that is a good call as someone who could rise.
I think he's got a little bit more juice than people realize, D.
Yeah. He had a long catch against USF. Meeting him in person, he's not that small. When you think he's like a small slot receiver. You meet him in person, he's got solid size. He's a senior, so he's worked hard. Super smart, Tony Johnson. This is an academic walk-on at FAU, so he got an academic scholarship to FAU, and then walked on to the team. So, yeah, I'm a big Tony Johnson fan. Appreciate you, Heel.
Yeah, so I mean, receiver, you've got plenty of options there, D, for guys that could step up and continue to play a big role. And I'll just say, I think we'll see even more consistency out of Keelan Marion. I don't know that some of the hate for him has been warranted. I think he'll continue to step up and show that he belongs as pretty much as wide receiver number 3 right now.
Yeah, no, I think Keelan Marion, we treat him like he's a finished product. He just got, like I said, he got here in summer. He's working with Carson Beck too. I think we haven't even seen a lot of stuff that I know he could do, go deep, right? One deep ball for Keelan Marion, he's pulling away from people. People are going to be like, man, give the ball more to Keelan Marion. So I think we're going to learn a lot here in ACC play. Keenan Ricker asking, how come let's switch to the next kind of position here, because I think this is really a spot that we're going to get a lot of questions on. So we'll just go right here as far as guys that could potentially play more in the ACC. Keenan Ricker, why are we reluctant to play Brock Shaw and Luka Gilbert? I think they both have more juice than 87. I think, first of all, there's a lot to this position at tight end, right? It's blocking, it's receiving, it's being in the right place. There's a lot of responsibility in that position. Quite frankly, it's a position where young players don't really play a lot. You know, you look at who was the best freshman tight end last year. I think the highest rated freshman tight end according to PFF, which again, take with a grain of salt, but that was Elijah Lofton, actually. So that's a position where freshmen don't typically play a lot because there's a lot there. But with these two, I think different things. I think with Luka Gilbert, even though he came in as a blocker because he blocked in high school and he's willing to block and he's 6'7", 260 almost, he's still getting used to blocking, like the just the technique of it. He's a tall guy, so there's a process there. He's willing and he's got the body. It's just a matter of time with him blocking. He's not going to block like an older player right out the gate, but I think he will eventually be a really, really good blocker on top of his receiving chops, which he has. And then Brock Schott, super fast. I think what Brock Schott does exceptionally well is what you've seen him do, which is catch the ball and explode. The route running, the hands, that's more of a developmental process. Once he gets that, he's going to be really hard to cover because of his speed. I thought I'd see him more on special teams. I haven't pulled up the snap counts. Has he been playing on special teams? I would have liked to see him on special teams.
I don't know. I don't think so. I haven't seen him out there.
I thought he fit there with just how physical he is and how fast he is. Bucks are plenty. We're going to stop acting like Elijah Lofton isn't a fullback.
Yeah, I've said it. I've said he is.
We both said it. I think the biggest issue with Elijah Lofton is his injuries. This guy was one of the best players in the country and on the team in all camp since he's been here, really. Even last year, you heard Mario compare him to Bain and Malinois, says he's one of the best freshman football players ever seen. Now, last year, he played fullback on our offense. If you watch some of our snaps against like USF, some other teams, he was playing.
He's been replaced by SJ Alafatuli now, though, D.
He is, and I think part of the reason is he's hurt, right? So the biggest tell that he's hurt that I can see is that he's not blocking the way he blocked last year as a true freshman. And I don't think that's because he doesn't want to. I think it's just he's banged up quite a bit, and he's just protecting himself a little bit. Whereas fullback, you got to be balls to the wall collisions, which he did last year.
But I'm kind of here with Studio One Live. D. He's like it's like I get what you're saying, but if he's out there playing, then we've got to that's what we're getting from him, and that's what we have to view him as a player right now.
Yeah, no, I get it, but at the same time, to say injuries aren't real and Ruben Bain last year was the same as Ruben Bain this year.
Yeah, but Ruben Bain missed time last year is the difference. Ruben Bain missed how many games last year?
But remember he got injured during the games. Lofton got injured before the year, as did JoJo. So but
he's still playing through it, though, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, now he is. But Bain played when Bain came back last year. He wasn't as good as Bain this year.
Yeah, Bain's also lost 15 pounds though, so that I think that
could help too.
That could. I mean, if Lofton dropped a little bit of weight, could that make him a little bit more dynamic? I don't like to just say injury because I'm sorry, because guys who are banged up a lot of times, yeah, they're maybe being held out, they aren't getting reps. Lofton's playing a lot still, so they can't think he's too hurt.
Yeah, and they keep saying how hard is he as he's playing. He's healthy enough to play, and he's not as explosive and dynamic as he was when he was healthy. I think if Schott and Gilbert were maybe a year older, they'd be more likely to take those snaps from Lofton, although Lofton's starting to get healthier, hopefully coming out of the second bye. He's pretty much ready to rock and roll. You saw him last game. He was making an impact. So I'm excited to see what he can do. I think one of those tells is going to be, is he blocking like he did last year? Because he's not blocking forget comparing him to anybody else. Just comparing him to himself, he's not blocking as well as he did last year. If he did, I think you would see him in that fullback spot instead of SJ, and he would have the option to run routes off that or carry the ball and really be a completely dynamic guy. Because I've seen him move. Like I've seen him at his best in practice when he's really getting. I mean, when Lawton was healthy in practice, thought this spring and even last year, he was getting the ball every single play almost. I mean, every other play he was getting the ball because he was so sudden to get open and he was so dynamic after the catch. He's a little off in terms of just a sudden quickness, but getting better, has improved. And I think coming out of the second bye, another good game against FSU where he made an impact. I think you'll see him get closer to where he needs to be, but we'll see. And that goes for Bauman too. So Pete, this is your favorite topic. Asking about D tackles. They didn't step up, Blay and Scott. I think Blay's look, we held Jaden Baugh to 40 yards, the electric Jaden Baugh. We held Jeremiah Love to 40 yards. So I think our run defense has been good. But Pete, you have talked about this topic a lot. The need to develop the backup defensive lineman. I think you're right on. I think a lot of teams are in that situation, but Miami is one of those. Who do you see stepping up here during this bye week, during this ACC period, to give us some quality snaps and maybe lessen the load on some of our top guys?
It looks like Dante Simpson, D. Dalen Russell was coming along. I know he's been banged up a little bit. He was a good player for Miami. What game was that? Was that Bethune? He showed some good stuff. Was that USF? I forget which game. He had a nice burst, but I think that Simpson, based on what we saw him getting those snaps at the end of the game, you now are at the middle point of the season. He hasn't had to play too much, so his body should be pretty fresh. Being as a young guy here, that's something you worry about is these guys kind of wearing down as the season goes on. But I think he's going to be in line here to get some snaps. And yeah, man, I think it's more so than just the D tackles, but those edge setting D ends, man. You can't have 70 plus. I don't want to see too many more of these 70 plus snap games in the ACC from Mesidor and Bain. I just don't. I don't think that's a
tough injury.
Low. Hopefully you get McConaughey back. I think Herbert Scroggins, I mentioned him yesterday, as someone that I would keep an eye on because you just don't have many options there right now. Who are legitimately the options there at that spot? I
think McConaughey for sure. I think Lowe would have been one of those guys. If you get a defensive tackle emerging, maybe Blunt plays more.
Blunt, that's the issue. That's the issue right now, based on what I've heard, is that they would love to play Blunt on the outside there as an edge, but they have to play him at D tackle right now as a 3-tech on pound these pass rushing situations out of necessity. And he's been fine. I mean, he's had good moments, but at the same time, I don't know that right now at his size, that's the best position for him either.
And part of it too is like with Mesidor and Bain, like they don't want to come off the field. Those guys are trying to win like awards. Not that they're not trying to support the team. I'm just saying, like, when you're rolling like that, you want to play as much as possible. Like they're not trying to come off the field.
Josh Gross says Booker Pickett, a fan of his, but I don't know that he's in that seat. Like, we're talking about guys who can set the edge. I don't see Pickett's a phenomenal pass rusher, has a nice burst off the line there, but I don't see him as that edge setter right now, D.
No, well, there's two different positions in this defense. So there is the field defensive end,
yeah,
right, which is going to be just, you guys know, the ball goes on the hashes, and then you have a wider side of the field and a more compressed side of the field, which would be called the boundary because that's where the sideline is. So the guy that lines up to the boundary in this defense is your quicker, faster guy. Booker Pickett's a boundary defensive end in this scheme. Marquise Lightfoot, Malik Bryant, because you don't need to take up as much space because there is less space. It's more constricted. Whereas the field defensive end is going to be your bigger, more physical, your Hayden Lowe, your Mondo Blunt, your Ruben Bain, because they are bigger. So they're not going to be as easy to wash out when there's already a ton of space next to them because they are the field defensive end. The funny thing about Mesidor is Mesidor really is a field defensive end. He's 265 plus pounds. He played defensive tackle last year and started. But he's playing boundary defensive end in the system because he's lost weight. He's a great mover. He's a linebacker in high school. We've seen him. He's flourishing in that role on the boundary. You could theoretically put him, like with Marquise Lightfoot playing so well. Someone earlier asked, why is Malik Bryant not playing as much? Well, I think it's because Marquise Lightfoot's just too good to keep off the field, and Mesidor, and they play the same position. So those two guys are kind of gobbling up the snaps. If you're very comfortable, and I think this might be something that was worth doing. If I'm looking at the ACC and I'm saying these teams are not going to really run on us, I mean they're physically inferior. I might say, okay, well, maybe we can get away with playing Marquise Lightfoot more as the boundary defensive end. And then we give Ruben Baines some snaps off, let Messidor play that field, give Messidor some snaps off, kind of like let those guys split the field a little bit more and then just play other boundary defensive ends more. Now, but obviously when Messidor and Bain are on the field together, it's the best combination in football. And those guys are not going to want to take too many breaks. But you do have, I think, more boundary defensive ends, those fast ones, than you have big ones, like you said. And Messidor, if he plays more on the field, that's like another field defensive end. And you could just, Malik Bryant plays more or Marquise Lightfoot plays more. You see what I'm saying? Booker Pickett, Scroggins. Like you can kind of do it that way.
I have some bad news, D.
What's that?
Gavin Gregory says he's had no contact with Miami recently. So,
maybe. Where'd that name? Who told me that? That was someone I mean. Again,
I know who told you. You told me, but
it's like I don't know. Listen, if we haven't contacted him, first of all, the guy I talked to is a very reliable guy. Number two, if we haven't talked to him, we better talk to him because that guy is unbelievable.
Johnny Lagoon says put Dalen Russell on the edge. I hadn't thought about that. A little short, but
yeah, you could. Really, McConaughey's one that I think could do it. I think McConaughey, and he was injured.
McConaughey was playing on critical downs against Louisville last year.
He was hurt in spring. He came back in fall, and then he got hurt in fall. I was right next to him. So I haven't gotten the update on his injury. He was dressed, I believe, last game, wasn't he? Someone said he was dressed, like full pads.
Ooh, McConaughey, yeah. And he wasn't on the injury report, so he must be fully healthy, ready to go.
So I think you might see some of that as time goes on. Louisville commit that we flipped. So played a lot against Louisville, like you mentioned last week or last year, maybe this week. We'll see him. Like it's a Louisville offensive line that is absolutely horrible. Also, a couple comments on Motoré. I think you put him as a pure defensive end, but he can play defensive end. He's done it in his career. He's been the leading sack guy for Rutgers every year he's been healthy, both as defensive end and then when he switched to linebacker. So he can do that a little bit too. And then, you can move guys around. I think really if you get McConaughey up to speed as just a true big guy, now you're in pretty decent shape and you can move guys around. But Pete, you've been saying it. This is a concern for you the whole time. Anybody else you're looking at that you want to see more before we get out of here?
I would say Dylan Day. How about Dylan Day? Because I think he's had some flashes, D, and we're very excited with the first three safeties there. But just again, this is an exercise of depth building, right? And I think he's shown enough that you can throw him out there for a few series and not expect there to be, huge misassignments and things of that nature. And you expect him to play a certain way, fast, physical, running after the football, right? So I think he's someone else that I'm very interested to see. We talk about who are building blocks for the future. You may not have Jacoby Thomas, moving forward. So that's one guy that moving
Bobby
forward,
Pruitt.
Bobby Pruitt, he's another guy to look at as a building block that you could start to develop here. So that sort of stuff, I think looking ahead, just trying to get guys more reps, that would be what I'm looking at.
Yeah, that's a good name. I like Bobby Pruitt. I would throw in too Kellen Wiley. I like Kellen Wiley. We talk about him a lot. His dad's always in the chat, but when he plays, he just gets sacks, man. Gets tackles. And he could get sacks. He's a pass rusher too.
Wiley definitely belongs in this conversation.
He's just fast. He finds his way to get to the football no matter where it is. So I am a fan of Kellen Wiley Jr. Just the speed, the intensity, all those things I think are pretty high level. And he's going to make mistakes. He's a freshman linebacker. He's going to hit the wrong gap sometimes. He's going to maybe his eyes might get a little too big sometimes, but that's part of playing and learning. And if you can get him up to speed now, next year you could have a potential star player on your hands.
Bucks of Plenty Gaming says, everybody we bring up is banged up. Are we taking care of our players' bodies? I think we're pretty darn healthy for this point of the year, man. This is big time college football. That's guys are going to be banged up, but really, I mean, who are we talking about? We're talking about JoJo's been banged up. Talked about Elijah Lofton. McConaughey, who hadn't played, but I mean, that's what are we really talking about? It's been pretty healthy. Jadeus Richard coming off of an ACL last year. They've been a lot healthier this year than they have in years past. I'll say that.
And compared to a lot of other teams, I mean, I'm just, again, knock on wood. I don't want to jinx it, but if you told me this was going to be our injury list, and I wish it was 0, right? But that's not realistic, especially with the way we practice at physical school.
Well, Jordan Lyle also, but I mean, he got hit. What was that, game 1? So.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think we're doing pretty good, and we're playing physical, and we're practicing physical. So we're practicing physical. We are playing physical. They can't complain. Another Malik Bryant question. I think, I think Marquise Lightfoot's emergence, and that's he plays the same position as Messidor. So Messidor plays the whole game. Marquise Lightfoot plays when he gets a chance to, passing downs particularly. I think Malik Bryant's just kind of get lost in that mix. Good player. It's just Marquise Lightfoot's really, really a talented dude who's playing at a high level. So I think that's part of it. P, going to talk real quick about some college football. I want to talk about maybe your upset picks or games you're watching, players you're watching here as we get ready for a great college football weekend. First, I want to talk about what I'll be drinking, watching college football this weekend. That is BUZZN, BUZZN, drinkbuzzn.com. That's drinkbuzzn.com. Use code FIRST50 for 50% off your first case. Just order a ton of cases, man. That's what I got, like 20 cases at my house. It's like a tower. It's going to fall on me. You see a podcaster die because a pile of THC drinks fell on him. Pour out a can of BUZZN for me at my funeral. 7.5 milligrams, real THC infused seltzer. All the hang, no hangover, different flavors, only 50 calories. So this is what it is. They got it. If you're in South Florida, Big Daddy's Liquor's got these, trying to get them in even more stores, but you can just order them. Drinkbuzzn.com, BUZZN.com. First 50 code for 50% off. Lab tested, real fruit juices. And then look, you're waiting for these games to start. It's Friday. You're probably pretty bored at work. You're trying to pass the time, get ready for the weekend. Download the KashKick app. That's KashKick. That is one of the top lifestyle apps in the country. Top 5 over Pinterest. Just to show you how big this is. 1.5 million plus downloads and 4.5 plus average rating on the App Store. The rare triple win when you download the KashKick with this Play It Forward campaign. You download the app. It's going to give you all types of games that you play on your phone in one simple app, so you don't have to scroll through, find the games you like. They got anything you could possibly want, whether it's crossword puzzles, more action-packed games, sports games, the card type games, you name it. They got it. Fishing games, RPGs, whatever it is you're into, they have it on KashKick, all like consolidated for you. And then as you play, you make some extra money on the side. It connects right to your Facebook, Google, PayPal, very easy connectivity, all legit. And you make extra money by doing nothing but playing games. Pretty easy. You don't have to, it's not gambling. You just play, you make. It's that simple. Make some extra money playing the KashKick app. And finally, the third part of the triple win, the American Cancer Society will get a donation matched by advertisers. To the money you're making, that gets matched by advertisers, goes to the American Cancer Society, a disease that's affected all of our lives at some point or another. And you can support that cause by doing nothing besides playing video games and making money. Sounds pretty good. That's KashKick app, the Play It Forward program. So,
question here from Kurt Brands. He says, I understand Bane is a leader on the team. Do you think him refusing to come out of the game undermines order as it relates to a team? What kind of message does it send to those around him? My answer to this is the coaches really wouldn't take him out if they didn't have to, if he didn't have those crazy high snap counts. I think the coaches want to see that fire that he wants to play. Now, I don't know that his teammates probably love that. like if they're going to get in the game and then he pushes them off the field. I don't know that his teammates love that, but at the end of the day, he's balling. What are you going to tell him? he's the alpha in that room. So I don't think the coaches care in terms of like that part of it. But if you're the guy who's supposed to come in for him, I don't think you probably love it, if I'm being honest.
Yeah. That's tough for on the blind. I think it's a great question by Kurt, and I'm not a football coach, so I know you have football coaches in the chat. So maybe you guys have opinions on this. Part of me is just like, look, Ruben Bain is the way he plays is on the borderline of insanity, very smart, very normal guy, very clean guy off the field. I mean, nothing that he does on the field goes outside the field, but clearly the way he plays is pretty unique. He's an animal. And when you had that mentality and you're an animal on the field, it's hard to turn that switch on and off, right? So it's one of those things that's like, when you get this kind of maniac on the field,
this is what you get.
It doesn't just turn off. That's how he is, right? So, yeah, it's right. He was on the bench upset because we didn't beat these teams bad enough. So I think True Tide says, tough for Blunt, but as Mally said, Gabos, the game ain't based on sympathy.
Yeah, Big Lo says, I'm a coach. I don't go against a guy like Bain. I think that's right. A guy like Bain. I don't know that if Marquise Lightfoot was doing that, it would go over too well.
Well, no, look.
Just yet.
But it's the same fire, right? So Marquise Lightfoot, good example. So one of the reasons that I like Marquise Lightfoot, and we hyped him up here in the offseason quite a bit, both of us did, Pete, is yes, he's skinny. Yes, he's a finesse player on paper because of his speed and his movement, but he's a nasty guy. Like Marquise Lightfoot has a violence switch on him. He played kickoff in high school as a 5-star defensive end. I don't know how many 5-star defensive ends as seniors.
Wasn't he playing kickoff last year for us?
Yeah, I think he played a little bit this year too. I mean, he's wired a certain way. And I think you saw the big blow up fight with Simeon Barrow, right? Remember last year. So that switch, that violent switch, you saw it manifest when he was trying to fight a senior defensive tackle as a 220 pound or however much he weighed last year, true freshman. It's a little different to do that. Now, you don't want fights on the sideline out of frustration. That was not a good thing, but it's in there. And then I think you saw here in this last game, clean hit on an interception return. Obviously, the FSU player didn't see it, the big, deep right tackle, Pettis, who outweighed about like 200 pounds, but Lightfoot knocked him out of the game. He's just one of those guys that these guys have the violence switch. It's hard to turn off. By the way, you know who else has the violence switch? Armando Blunt. I'm glad they didn't fight each other on the field when Bain pushed them, because Armando Blunt has that violence switch as well. So here we go. Here's another high school coach. It says most coaches don't mind that aggression and passion as long as you're making plays. But if you're not making plays, there's something to talk about. Yeah, probably right. Probably right about a lot of things.
Canes Cat sees 305 says Lightfoot weighs the same as when he came in. I think he's gained a little bit of weight, but
he's gained weight.
And listen, there were people on the comments who got upset when I would say this over the summer. And I would say I don't think he's ever going to be a guy who weighs 245, 250 pounds. Like because we got the question a couple of days ago. Hey, do you think Lightfoot could put on weight? Anyone can put on weight if you sit around and eat and don't do anything. But everyone's got a certain body type. I don't know that putting weight on Lightfoot's frame is the best thing for that twitchiness, man. I want him to stay this way.
Yeah, and he's strong for his size. Joe K makes a good point. I don't like Lightfoot in space against Shorty, the FSU QB, as a spy. I thought we had someone quicker. Look,
I told you that was going to be the game plan there.
And I don't think the quickness and the speed's the issue. I think the one area you run into some trouble with Lightfoot in space is that he's 6'5", right? So it's just kind of hard to bend down and tackle guys. Yeah. But I think he's definitely quick and fast, and that's all pretty high level. But yeah, he's a tough player, man, and aggressive. I'm very, very, very bullish on what Lightfoot can do. Him, Armando Blunt, you see guys that like football, man. That overcomes so much. And one thing, by the way, some context on Bain while we're talking about him is the play that he refused to come out was because the FSU offensive line took a cheap shot on him and jumped on him. So it wasn't like he missed a tackle or something. He's like, oh, I want to stay in the game because I just screwed up and I want to get a sack, like something selfish like that. It was more like, this guy just disrespected me and committed a personal foul, and now I want to kill him. And by the way, the next play, he made a tackle, like right there at the line of scrimmage. A great play from the backside pursuit. So the context, I think, you understand why he wanted revenge, and he took revenge without compromising the team. So that was pretty good. You mentioned Dylan Day, by the way, as far as guys in ACC play. I like that. I like that pick. He's going to miss the first half of this game, though, unfortunately, for targeting.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. But did he have it wasn't a targeting, but did he get a personal foul against Notre Dame too?
It was like a BS call, I think.
Yeah. But I think that he's a good one, man. Like, he's not a guy that you get in there and you don't notice him. You notice him when he's out there.
Yeah. He's fast. He's tough. Again, my favorite quote of all time about sports, and I use this with my kids, like as far as parenting. This was John Thompson, coach of Georgetown, and I think it applies to Bain. I think it applies to Marquise Lightfoot. I think it applies to Dylan Day. And he goes, you could calm down a fool. Not saying these players are fools. This is just a quote. You can calm down somebody that's too wired, right? That makes mistakes of intensity. You can calm that person down. You can't wake up a corpse. You cannot wake up a corpse. So my philosophy was with sports, with my own kids, I'd rather rein them in than have to wake them up. So you don't want people to be afraid to move. You don't want people to be afraid to behave and to do things. You want people to be aggressive, to be into the game, to be wanting to kill the other team. And then if you got to rein them in, you rein them in. But those guys that you have to wake them up 99% of the time, you're not going to wake them up. That's not going to happen. So if we're having to calm guys down, if we're having to rein guys in, that means we got the right guys on the team, because that's what you want. You want guys you have to rein in at least a little bit, because that means they're going in the right direction as opposed to having to wake them up. My personal view. That applies.
I'll tell you what, you will not wake up a corpse if you eat Lomelo's Meat Market Wagyu, fresh Wagyu beef delivered to your door. If you are not local here in Miami and South Florida, Lomelo's has a shop right past Dayland, 9810 South Dixie Highway, US 1. You got all the beautiful cuts of Wagyu steak here. Prime steak as well. You got the Australian Wagyu, Japanese, American. You see the tomahawk there on the grill. It's a grill it up weekend, D, with this bye week. If you're going to be at home throwing down on the grill, nowhere better than Lomelo's Meat Market. Check out lomelos.com, and of course, 10% off, promo code CIS.
Yeah, how about you got the grill, you got the Lomelos on the grill, you're celebrating some college football, watching the games, if you're not going to be at the Lickin' or at Duffy's or any place to watch any of these games. And then you're just sporting this back-to-back state champ cert. Does life get any better? Bye week, undefeated, top 2 team in the nation. Some say number 1 team in the nation, and wearing the shirt that says back-to-back state champs. And this was a true back-to-back state champs, because you played all 3. I mean, USF beat UF. You don't want USF barking that they're the real state champs. You took care of all 3. And I do think it's 3 now, because USF is now on the level of UF and FSU. They beat UF. I think they'd be right there with FSU in a game. So true, undisputed, unquestioned, back-to-back state champions. And I don't see that changing anytime soon. Get the shirt at MiamiHTS.com. Promo code INSIGHT20. Get 20% off if you're in person right there across the street from the University of Miami. Same promo code. Just tell them Canes Insight, and they'll take care of you. 20% off your first item.
Studio One Live with the comment here that I think you were getting to. He says, until I see Lightfoot get pushed around, then no wait, please. I don't see him getting pushed around. He closes and makes tackles usually.
Yeah, man, he's tough. He's got power, sneaky power. He's not going to be Ruben, but he's got sneaky power. And look, someone mentioned earlier in the comments, Jason Taylor. I mean, how much was he playing? How big was he when he was playing? There's Felipe. He was playing 240, 250. And of course, that is his coach. I'm sure that sales pitch has been used. Let's get to the weekend, Pete. Just some quick thoughts. Grizz asking, can NC State knock off Notre Dame this weekend? I picked NC State to cover. I think it was like 22.5. Too many points. I think, CJ Bailey, we're a fan of. I don't think his team is that good, but I do think he'll make enough plays to cover that spread. To beat Notre Dame, I think Notre Dame's playing too well. How do you see that one?
I think that you have CJ Bailey as your quarterback, then anything's possible. I think Notre Dame wins that game, but I think it's like a 10-point game. Honestly, I think it's way closer than 22.
Yeah, and NC State has some good players. They got Jolly, a tight end. I know you're a fan of. Hollywood Smothers, the running back. That 22-point spread surprised me, and I'm a big Notre Dame believer. I had him as, if you ask me who are the top 5 teams in the country, forget resume, just the top 5 teams. obviously Miami, Ohio State, Oregon. I put Texas A&M there, and I put Notre Dame there, who barely lost to Texas A&M. Really should have won that game. So those are, to me, my 5 best teams, Notre Dame being one of them. But 22, that's a lot of points. I like NC State to cover, but not to win. Tonight, pretty cool game here. South Florida versus North Texas. This could have big implications in terms of the playoff. We'll be cheering hard for USF. Obviously, a playoff team on the resume. I have not seen this quarterback for North Texas, Mestemaker, the freshman, who's put up some really nice numbers, 11 touchdowns, no picks. But I guess he's a redshirt freshman. Never seen him play. Looking forward to watching him against USF. But interesting game for playoff projections. We'll see. I'll learn more about North Texas when we watch that game.
I'm very surprised, D, you're not supporting a former Hurricane as the backup quarterback in North Texas.
Yeah, Poff, man. Poffbarger thought he had that job. And then, boom.
D, was that the most lying you've ever had to do to yourself about a situation?
Yes. 100% yes. 100% yes, it was. That was I did think he was going to be our backup quarterback, but Emory kind of moved past him in camp. Poffbarger was actually better in spring, but then Emory was coming back from injury. Emory, by the time it was camp, was clearly the number 2. But yeah, definitely a lot of lying going on with Poff. You were scouting Poff at Duffy's.
No, not it was somewhere else.
Sports Grill.
But yeah, and the wings were not flavored. That was a huge red flag. I was there with my boy Cowboy, and you got to put some flavors on those wings, man. You can't go with the unflavored wing.
Yeah, you catch the real quarterbacks like Emory and Carson Beck. You'll see those guys at Duffy's. You got Jim Kelly on the wall, Craig Erickson, Steve Walsh. That's the lunch of actual championship quarterbacks. Switching gears to Saturday, really good slate. I'm excited to not be, preparing for a Canes game and be able to just kind of watch these games. I will desperately miss those licking fried broccoli and that licking salmon and all the lamb chops. You're going to be missing those. So that's going to be tough to miss, but it'll be good to watch these games. 12 o'clock, Ohio State, Illinois. That team's maybe it's a tricky game for Ohio State. It's on the road. Illinois has got a pretty good offense. Number 17 team in the country. Do you think Ohio State's kind of thing to worry about there in that road game?
No, I don't. I mean, Illinois has been smacked around. Well, they were smacked around pretty good by Indiana. I mean, I'm a believer in Indiana, but I don't think that they will match up too well there with Ohio State.
Yeah, and that one's not on my upset radar, but who knows? Noon game on the road against a ranked team. Stranger things have happened. Alabama, Missouri, I got a strong eye on this game. I think Alabama, great passing game. Love their passing game. Love the way it's coached. Love the way the players they have. I love Ty Simpson as a quarterback in this system. I don't think he's a top NFL guy like they're talking about now, but I think a really good college player with a chance to play pro. I know you did a video on it for Group Chat Sports. I'm not as high on him as a pro yet. I think he needs a lot of experience, but he's a good player right now, and he's got great receivers with Williams, with Jeremy Bernard, Isaiah Horton, maybe the best wide receiver trio in the country. However, Missouri can rush the passer. Zion Young, Damon Wilson, they might get the best pair of defensive ends in the SEC. Alabama's offensive line looked horrible against FSU. So I wouldn't be surprised if those defensive ends cause problems for Alabama. I think their defense stinks. They're going to have to stop Ahmad Hardy from previously Louisiana Monroe, now at Missouri, maybe the best running back in the country right now statistically, 730 yards, 9 touchdowns. I kind of like Missouri here, man. I think Missouri can win this game.
Yeah, I think they can. I think Bama does win, though. Really like the trajectory of Ty Simpson right now and that offense. I'm a huge Drinkwitz guy, and that place will be fired up for a noon kickoff there. But I think Bama wins it.
Pittsburgh, Florida State. I'm a big fan of Pittsburgh's linebackers, Kyle Lewis, and number 3. I always forget his name, but he's fast as hell. What's number 3's name? He is unreal.
All right, Clay Fink was tweeting about them yesterday. Let me see if I pull up his.
Yeah, he's not wrong. He was saying they're the best linebacking duo in the country. He's not wrong. Both of them look like safeties, especially number 3. He had an interception for a touchdown. I think both those guys had multiple interceptions for touchdowns. They are really, really fast, really instinctive. So Pittsburgh, we have to play them. That's what you're going to be watching for when you play Pittsburgh, is those linebackers, because they're really fast. Florida State likes to go side to side. You cannot go side to side on those Pittsburgh linebackers. I don't think they're overly physical, Florida State, compared to a Pittsburgh. I think it's probably more of a push. So home game, big game for Norvell. He tends to go on losing streaks when he loses. I don't know. I think Tommy Castellanos settles it. They win the game. Pittsburgh's got a true freshman quarterback going on the road to Doak. That's a tough ass, but I don't know. It's possible Pittsburgh takes it. What do you think?
I think FSU bounces back there pretty easily.
All right, so you're not seeing a tough game there. That one, we'll see. Indiana, Oregon. Oregon's a better team. I love Indiana, though. I love the way they're coached. I think they're a balanced team. They can run. They can pass. They can get after it on defense. They got guys that can cover. To me, if Indiana can run the ball, this will be a close game. If Oregon stops Indiana's running game, it'll be probably a 2-touchdown, 3-touchdown type situation. And I don't know. I don't know how that's going to turn out. Indiana has some guys on the offensive line. They've upgraded that unit from year to year, bringing in Coogan from Notre Dame. They got a great left tackle. I think Indiana has a chance to make this a game. I'd probably lean Oregon because it's at home to separate themselves. But if Indiana can get that running game going with Hemby, I would put this as an upset alert game. If
Oregon they got three backs over there. Really, it's not just Hemby. I agree. I think Indiana covers. I think it's 7.5 right now. I've said earlier in the week, I think there's a decent chance Indiana wins the game outright, but I think certainly they will cover. Big believer in this Indiana team. I think you split. They have this game, and then I believe they have at Penn State, which doesn't look as. They have at Penn State, which doesn't look as daunting as it once did. I think there's a playoff team, man.
Whew. I love it. That'd be cool.
Is that a crazy statement?
No,
I'm looking at their schedule. You have at Oregon, home Michigan State, home UCLA, at Maryland could be a little tricky, at Penn State, home Wisconsin, at Purdue. I mean,
they're veteran.
And I don't see this as a team that loses games they shouldn't.
No, veteran quarterback, veteran team, great coach. I agree with you totally. They didn't lose games they should. Last year they won all the games they should have won. So I'm with you. I think it's a playoff team. I think it's a good take. And if they win this game, who knows?
That's what I'm
saying.
They're
off and running. 3:30, Oklahoma, Texas. This seems like a low-scoring game to me. Matier coming back from injury. He looks like he's going to play. Texas offensive line, we talked about it earlier in the show. Horrible against Florida. I mean, shows you how good Miami's offensive line is. I didn't even see Tyreek Sapp when he was going against Markel Bell. He was hitting Arch Manning every other play. So, again, that tells you what Miami's doing up front. But I think Texas offensive line, terrible. But really, Oklahoma's offensive line is no great shakes. Matier kind of covers up a lot of those holes. Texas is pretty good defense. This to me seems like a defensive battle. Who do you trust more to make plays, Matier or Arch Manning? I think Matier, coming off injury, maybe takes a step back. I think Arch Manning, a lot of criticism, takes a step forward. I think there's an Arch game. Arch defeats Matier, announces himself as a good player. I like Arch still. I hate his offensive line, but I like Arch. Oklahoma's defensive line's nasty. It's going to be a slugfest. There's going to be a lot of hits on Manning. I think there'll be a lot of hits on Matier. I think Manning wins a physical slugfest. What do you see?
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I think Texas bounces back in this one. They've heard, their backs are against the wall. The season's on the line this week. And I think Oklahoma's a bit overrated.
Yep. That'll be a fun game to watch. The night games, Florida, Texas A&M's at Texas A&M. We know it's a crazy atmosphere. I've been to both. Texas A&M probably rowdier than the Swamp, I thought. Weird atmosphere, weird school. People there are weird, but the stadium was pretty packed. I love Texas A&M. I love the way they're structured. They got offensive line. They can play defense. They can rush the passer. They can run the ball physically. They can run for big plays. They have exciting, electric receivers that they brought into the portal. Marcel Reed can run and throw. Interesting game. I love Texas A&M, but I don't know, man. Florida's got a lot of juice right now. 7-point dogs. I think Florida covers, and I don't know who wins. I think Lagway keeps it going. I'm betting on Lagway and Manning this weekend. That's been a bad bet.
I was gonna say last time you did that on Lagway, it didn't go too well. I think Florida sticks around, but A&M wins by 10 points. They cover the spread. Maybe I think it's probably one of those games where it's a one-score game for most of the game, or it looks like Florida can win, but then A&M kind of pulls away late with Florida chasing. And Lagway making some mistakes down the stretch. That's my prediction.
Yep, I like that. I like that call. But I think Florida covers. I do think Florida covers. Georgia Auburn. Auburn's quarterback play has just been so bad. It's at Auburn. I don't love either of these teams. I think Georgia's pass rush and overall defense has taken a huge step back. Their offense has gotten better as far as the talent around the quarterback, but the quarterback's not as good as Carson Beck. I don't have a great feel for this one. I guess Georgia, just because Auburn can't throw the ball, even with all the money they spent at receiver. How do you? But they can make, if they hit a couple of those big plays, they can score long touchdowns. At Auburn, big rivalry. I guess I got to go with Georgia just because I just don't trust Jackson Arnold. He's been a huge disappointment.
I mean, what are the chances Georgia drops 2 games in a row? I just don't see it right now. It's not the same team as we've said, but I still think they're too well coached in overall in terms of what the culture is there for them to go in and lose this one.
Yep, I'm with you. We've been on Kirby Smart in this battle. Some other good games. South Carolina LSU, we'll see. I hope that's a good game for Lenore Sellers. I think he's the best quarterback talent in the country, just on a pure talent basis, at least of the eligible guys. And then Michigan USC. The only reason I'm not picking Michigan strongly, because I loved up Bryce Underwood, how he's been progressing. I think he's a real deal. I'm very bullish on him. I love Michigan's offensive line. I love their running game. I love Michigan, everything they are as a program. Whereas USC, I hate everything they are as a program. I think they're soft as butter. That cross-country trip, though, man, we saw with Penn State last week. We saw with Miami last year. That thing is a killer, man, that trip to the West Coast. So I think USC wins on that basis, but I do think Michigan's the better team. And if they can survive the trip, they are the better football team. How do you see this one?
Yeah, that's a tough one for me. I agree. I'm not a believer in either one of these teams necessarily as like playoff contenders, but I'm not a Lincoln Riley guy, man. I think Michigan just sticks to their brand of football and wins this one.
Yep, I'm with you. It's going to be a fun weekend of football. I'll tell you this. The rain canceled the scrimmage, so I can't see this guy today. I was going to see him today. I can't because it's going to be raining at the baseball scrimmage, but I know a lot of landscapes are going to be happy with the landscape artisans, OrchidMan, ORCHID, manflorida.com. Number one landscape artisans in South Florida, whether you're in Palm Beach, Broward, Dade County, the Keys, residential, commercial, doesn't matter. If you want a beautiful landscape, talk to OrchidMan. The attention to detail, the expertise, the experience, second to none, and they will do all the pretty work and all the dirty work that you don't want to think about. Lighting, hurricane prep, gutters, irrigation, fertilizing, maintenance, you name it, they do it. One-stop shop. They will quarterback your landscape operation. OrchidManFlorida.com. ORCHID man, Florida.com. All right. Almost an hour 40, man. We're getting our cardio up on these shows, but there's so much to talk about with football and college football and the Canes. And when it's hot, it's hot. I talk Canes all day. We're winning like this.
Yep.
All right, brother.
I tell you, man, what a peaceful show about halfway through when we got rid of Temmie there. Gosh.
All right, Pete Temmie. All right, man. Pete, I'll see you tomorrow for the morning show. Go Canes.
Go Canes.